Today, I asked myself, could you beat Dark Souls without gaining souls? And I don't mean that in the modded sense or the figurative sense. Could you literally beat Dark Souls 3 without your soul counter increasing by even 1? An impossibility. Pure insanity. If you kill a boss, you gain souls. Enemies, you gain souls. Hell, even if something dies near you, you're getting souls. I mean, I guess you could use Tears of Denial and skip most bosses. Oh wait, you need souls to buy that miracle. With odds like that, it's no wonder that in the 14 years of Dark Souls' existence, it has never been attempted on any of the games, ever. Until I arrived. This is a run months in the making, and one I'm very proud of. Let's start with the obvious issue, Gundyr. We can't get past him without killing him, and if you kill him, you get his souls, right? Well, while it's true we have to kill him, there is a way to make sure we don't gain souls from bosses. The Dark Sign. While normally useless in a regular run, this simple item gets rid of all your souls and then respawns you at the previous bonfire. So, simply kill Gundyr and use the Dark Sign once the bonfire appears, signaling that you've beaten the boss. And there, 0 souls. Or not. Well, I guess there is a reason this hasn't been done before. You see, apparently all the Dark Sign does is get rid of your current souls. Even if you are due souls from killing a boss, using the Dark Sign early won't benefit us. However, what if we timed it right before the souls went into our inventory, but still registered as given? The first issue is trying to time when to use the Dark Sign is difficult. After a lot of practice, I do manage to get some attempts where the souls don't go into my inventory, but shows as received. But the operative word in this challenge is gained. Having the extra souls appear over my inventory, even if they don't actually go into it, still indicates that I have gained souls. Meaning, you can't use the Dark Sign to avoid soul gain. But I'm not quite done yet. Gundyr's arena is luckily located near a cliff, so perhaps dying due to gravity will work? Unfortunately, the death screen takes so long to appear that the souls go into your inventory before you go into the loading screen. But if our only problem is speed, we just have to make sure we die even faster. What about if this time we kill Gundyr close to the cliff and then roll off of it? It should be much faster, so maybe this time it'll work? And I wait, but no souls go into my inventory. Gundyr has been defeated without any soul gain, and with that, our hellish journey has just begun. Well, that's surely a good sign of things to come, and 100% won't become an ongoing pattern of annoyance. Well, shit. Here we go again. While I re-kill Gundyr, let's talk about why the Dark Sign won't work, while Gravity does. It seems that souls can only be preemptively removed upon a natural death, so using a Homeward Bone, quitting out, or using the Dark Sign even if timed properly, you will still return to find the souls in your inventory, while natural deaths will make sure you don't get the souls you're due even if they haven't gone into your inventory yet. However, not every boss has a convenient ledge to jump off of, but we will jump off that proverbial bridge when we get there. Luckily in this challenge, so long as we don't gain souls grabbing Estus shards, we can still use Estus flasks, so that's nice. but I won't be needing you today, old friend. It's not you, it's me.
Ashen One, be sure to bring more souls.
Yeah, about that. This brings us to our second point. Because we can't gain souls in this challenge, we obviously can't use them either. Meaning no leveling up, no upgrading or infusing weapons, and no buying things from the Shrine Handmaiden even though she wants us to. This makes the challenge hard on a skill-based level as well, and is hard enough to be a nightmarish challenge on its own. But, ironically enough, today it's the least of our worries. For now, our biggest problem is the logistical nightmare of how do you avoid gaining souls when everything around you wants to die, needs to die, or just kills everything that enters its sight? More on that later. Arriving at Lothric, we have a couple issues right off the bat. Like this dragon who will kill these hollows giving you souls. While this is my normal route to get through the area, it's not the only one. Alternatively, you can just go straight through all the enemies on the right path, so there's not really much issues. But not too far up ahead lies a puss of man. Not normally an issue, however, if you're not careful, he will kill the hollows around him during his transition and give you souls. And while you can run past him and avoid that outcome, sometimes he will kill the hollows near him for no reason besides he just felt like it. There's two ways to avoid this. The first is if you focus on running past and don't get hit by the enemy at the bottom, the enemy will deload, signaled by a sudden cutoff to his scream. Or you can just quit out when you're past his aggro range, and that also works. From there, just run until you arrive at Vort. But with no cliffs close enough, our best option is to get the hollows outside of Vort's arena to kill me. However, this requires a couple things. The first is that we need to get Vort killed beside his fog wall, giving us enough time to aggro the hollows. The next is that we actually need Vort to damage us enough without killing us so the hollows can one-tap you. Unfortunately, trying to get into the perfect health and position with Vort proves troublesome to say the least. You've got to be kidding me. Unfortunately, whenever you actually need an enemy to hit you, they hide behind their shield doing nothing. But what if we got an enemy whose only language they speak is violence? Meet the Lothric Knight. Drag one of these guys to the boss fog wall, make quick work of Vort, and then... oh great, he's not here. Lovely. And he's much too far away to run towards before you gain the souls. Well, since the Lothric Knights have the attention span of a toddler, back to making the hollows work. However, getting killed by the hollows outside is mathematically impossible. Yes, I did the math, feel free to prove me wrong. But, if we can't kill the boss, how about we skip it instead? First, get the banner from Emma, and then stand on this plank here, before realizing this is your first time attempting the Vort skip. Yamfa makes this look easy, but I'm just letting you know, it's not. Lining this up was not fun. Although, typically when you perform this skip, you'd kill the archer hollows so you don't get pelted, ruining your footing and knocking you off. If only I had such a luxury of killing enemies. However, instead, I'm stuck here learning a new skip while also being a target dummy. Would you quit it? However, after an uncomfortably long amount of time, I'd rather not disclose, I get the skip. Remember how this is my first time doing Vort skip? Well, nobody told me what tank controls were, and this was my first time experiencing them. And it shows. Doesn't help that I can't see where my character is in some parts either, so after running around like a headless chicken for a while, I get put out of my misery, and then promptly research what exactly tank controls are so I don't die again. But apparently all it means is the character goes in the direction it's facing, not where the camera is facing, so didn't take long to figure it out. And after a still uncomfortable but less amount of time, we get it again. And then die again. It's just a skill issue though. With some practice, I get a feel for how I'm supposed to move my character, and eventually, we get it. Wait, where did those souls come from? Turns out, whenever you perform the Vort skip, the enemies at the top will jump off and end themselves. That's just my theory at least, but it doesn't matter what is dying. The point is, being without fail, every time you successfully enter Death Cam, you then gain some souls from something dying somewhere, making the Vort skip impossible. So, if the Vort skip is impossible, and dying to enemies near Vort is mathematically impossible, what options are left? There is more than one way to skip Vort. Go over here and lure this hollow to the corner. Not only is this skip easier for our challenge, but it's also more consistent. Parry the hollow and riposte with your fists so he doesn't die. If you do it correctly, you should enter Death Cam. From there, just make your way across. Quit out, and now for the moment of truth. Victory. We've gotten past Vort without gaining souls, and after getting picked up by the cheese demons, we mentally prepare ourselves, for this challenge has only just begun. It's now time for the Undead Settlement, and here's some good and bad news. The good news is we get 5 free levels, isn't that nice? And here's the bad news. Damn it, I need to reset again. The first step is to get past the gate. However, the dogs will immediately attack the hollows at the entrance. However, the hollows dying to the dogs doesn't give you souls for some reason. We don't question these things, we just take those. I grab a free Estus shard and take my normal route. You know, on second thought, maybe going past the area with the sniper giant isn't a good idea. The other route is much safer, but you will need to quit out after you jump, otherwise the hollows will throw firebombs, blowing up the barrels, which kills some dogs. But the next area isn't quite as forgiving. In specific, I'm talking about these two suicidal little shitheads. While still being hard to navigate without a dagger, luckily is safe to go through. The enemies won't aggro onto each other when you're on the main path, and your biggest worry would be an enemy repeatedly walking into a fire. But do you know what actually is a problem? The Dark Wraiths. While you can get past them and fight the bonfire, Getting past these insane maniacs without them killing the Grooves is an issue in and of itself. Before we confront that problem, make sure to use your 5 free levels from 𝐆𝐀𝐈𝍍𝐆 wisely, because he dies after the Abyss Watchers do. So after leveling up Vigor and upgrading our flasks, we get back to the issue at hand. If you quit out just before the door and sit there, the Dark Wraiths will come and kill the Grooves before giving you souls. So their movement isn't preceded by being near the bonfire at the start, but instead being near the area. So, at what point is far enough for them not to ruin everything? Well, what if you quit out while opening the Abyss Watcher's door and then enter the arena? As far as that goes, the fight proceeds without the Dark Wraiths killing the Grooves outside, so that's one problem solved. However, we still need a plan on how to avoid gaining souls from killing the Abyss Watchers, and moreover, a plan to actually get decent weapons despite our restrictions. Because even the Abyss Watchers are able to kill me. So I make a quick pit stop to grab the reinforced club. Oh right, the giant. Forgot about that. Damn. Well, before I reset, let's test something against the Abyss Watchers, shall we? The pointy hats are still an early game boss, so with a weapon like the reinforced club, you can consistently stagger and backstab the Abyss Watchers with the occasional bleed as well. But regardless of the ever-creeping problem of not being able to upgrade our weapon, let's cut to the real problems at hand. The first problem is the quit outs. If you aren't directly next to the boss fog wall when you quit out, the Dark Wraiths will aggro and start killing stuff, as I so rudely find out in the middle of the fight. The second is actually getting into one-shot range. The closer you can get, the better. Although sometimes you will die if you misjudge how much damage it will do. Lastly, the logistics of the Grooves outside actually killing you are impossible. Even if I didn't mess up by not being embered, causing me to heal to full, the Grooves are just simply too far away to kill you fast enough. But unlike the Knights and Hollow Warriors, these enemies will stay aggro to you during the boss fight if you lure them to the fog wall. However, doing this would trigger the Dark Wraiths and make the run fail for a different reason entirely. And with no way to skip the Abyss Watchers without Tears of Denial, this run is impossible. Or is it? You see, this funny little weapon has a weapon art fittingly called Bloodlust, where you stab yourself dealing 1/3 of your HP as damage. Now, note that this weapon has a dex requirement of 24, making the weapon art impossible to use before the Abyss Watchers. Except not really. You can still use the weapon art even if you don't meet the requirements, and it still does damage to you. Just what we needed. However, 2 more questions remain. How does the damage on the weapon art work? And does it classify as a natural death, like jumping off a cliff? For the first problem at least, I tested the weapon art damage at each figure level from 𝐆𝐀𝐈𝐍𝐆, and no matter what, it dealt at least 33% of my HP, meaning we are one-shot so long as we keep 33% of our HP or less, giving us a much safer range to work with the boss. Better yet, we can put ourselves into that range ourselves if we don't want to risk the boss one-shotting us, instead of just getting us close. So with my new weapon in hand and restored confidence, I kill the Abyss Watchers again, and pull out the katana. And hopefully, this time, it'll work. Oh, right, the Ember. Probably should have been lower, or at least planned around that. Okay, no matter, let's just try that again. And after another brief 5-minute fight, and actually being in one-shot range, I test my theory. Victory at long last. And with the method of avoiding boss souls going into your inventory solved, the rest of this challenge should be easy. Alright? Oh, not another fade to black. I hate when I do that. One of the good things about going through the catacombs is that skeletons are notoriously bad at dying. For obvious reasons, we can't get the bone shard from the skeleton boulder though, but we can at least kill Wolnir, hit his bracelets and send him home to Cassandra, then pull out your katana and send yourself to the afterlife. Now, turns out ending your existence on this mortal coil early makes the cutscene play out weird, but I won nonetheless, and not a single soul gained. Or so I thought. So, why did I gain souls on Wolnir? If we play it back, we see that we obviously did not gain any souls. However, upon returning to where we died, because the souls was on top of the bonfire, it gave us the souls before we lighted the bonfire. So while we are avoiding gaining souls by sending ourselves to the Shadow Realm, the souls can still be picked up via your bloodstain. So make sure to avoid those after a boss kill. No matter, we just need to redo Wolnir then, right? What? Although, keep in mind, you still actually need to try to win. Don't worry, Wolnir is still easy, so I achieve victory yet again. Commit seppuku, and move onwards. Why can't anything be easy? Let's talk about Wolnir's timings real quick. We obviously know that it's possible, but why did that time it didn't work, while the other time it did? The simple answer is cutscenes and death times. I ended myself later on that attempt. Our death will still play out as normal during cutscenes, so depending on when we did it after the cutscene happens, the rest will either play out or we immediately go to the loading screen. Since victory is achieved only after the cutscene plays, it needs to be timed so the cutscene plays out, but we go to the loading screen right after, thus avoiding the soul gain. And on my next attempt, I get the timings right, avoiding the souls going into my inventory, and finally being able to proceed. Just make sure not to pick up the souls this time. That's the longest I've spent on Wolnir in a while. First attempt at Crystal Sage, and... oh, for the love of... Again, make sure to quit out before entering a boss arena, because enemies have zero chill, and will die if you look away for 3 seconds. How the hell do enemies in this game have a worse mortality rate than people from the 1500s? Well, luckily enough, Crystal Sage as a boss that teleports around, gives you plenty of time to go into a corner, and give yourself a tiny scratch. From there, simply run up and kill the Crystal Sage, or get greedy and die, that works as well. Okay, one more time, from the top. Fight like normal, get low but not too low, kill the Crystal Sage, and then send yourself to Valhalla. And with that, Crystal Sage has been killed without any souls gained. Thank goodness. If it isn't the place where enemies light themselves on fire so they can kill you, what a revolutionary, horrible tactic that is typically easy to avoid and causes no suffering. Unless you were doing a no soul run, of course, and then it would probably be really annoying, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? What revolutionary tactic will be used to overcome this problem? Quitting out. It's always quitting out. You'd be surprised how many problems can be solved by that. With that, we grab our Estus Shard and proceed forwards. That's weird. What died? Oh well, just run it back. Or not? What is going on here? Here's the problem. We keep getting 600 souls. And without knowing what is dying, avoiding it is difficult. It's not the exploding enemies, and it offers too much souls to be a basic zombie dying. Even if you take alternate routes, you still get the souls. After some testing, it seems it's based on time rather than location. Thus, it may be unavoidable. But if we don't kill the deacons, we can't get the doll or enter 𝐸𝐸𝐻𝐸. And since the teardrop skip requires tears of denial, that's not an option. So is that it? Is it over at something so trivial as this? No. I refuse to accept anything but victory. As explained by the speedrunner Kinetic, there are 3 ways to do ladder storage. The first is to use a straight sword and hold the weapon art button, then hit the block button briefly and hit the interact button at the same time. The animation should snap back to stance and your character will teleport in front of the ladder. The second is the pivot method. You run at the ladder and turn back. At the same time you pivot, you need to hit the interact button and it'll teleport you to the ladder. The third is to do it while running off the top of the ladder without either, just timing it perfectly to when you start to drop. And I am good at none of them. Although, obviously, the third is impossible to do using this current ladder, it doesn't help that this is my first time using ladder storage either. But if you get it correct, the dark sign should be grayed out. For this next part, make sure not to mess up or you'll have to do it all over again. Go right over here and run against here and roll his attack. If you mess up the next part like I did, don't worry. So long as he is in this spot, just run up against him and jump and roll. Now, after you are in the bridge, run and jump against this pillar. After that, just light the nearest bonfire, because if you quit out, you will respawn at the ladder. Well, with that done, how about we fight against Pontiff now? Hey, thanks for watching thus far. As a small YouTuber, it takes a lot of time and effort to create a video like this, especially this one. So, if you leave a like, subscribe, or even leave a comment, it lets me know that this video was good and that you enjoyed it, and it matters a lot to me. Not to mention the added bonus that it helps the algorithm show it to others. Seriously, what you do matters, because no matter how good a video is, if the algorithm doesn't think people enjoyed it, it just won't get picked up. Well, with that out of the way, let's get back to the challenge at hand. It's about time that we kill Pontiff, which proves to be more challenging than normal. But why is that? I know most of this run has been focusing on the logistics of defeating bosses without gaining souls, but the consequences of those actions is we are underleveled, underpowered, have limited healing, and can't buy useful stuff from merchants. And it's starting to catch up. But the real issue at hand is perhaps hard to explain. You see, when I focus into a boss fight, everything else becomes secondary. When a fight is difficult, I often forget to equip a Mimic Head or other souls boosting items after the victory. Perhaps I fear that the same thing will happen with the Bloodlust Katana. That even if I win, I will forget about the very challenge I'm doing, causing me to redo it. And even if I play really well to defeat Pontiff, I still need to focus on his health and mine so I can get into the death range in time and being quick enough to use the seppuku skill. If I celebrate victory early, I will lose. Simple as that. So to do well in this fight means we have to learn the fight well enough that I'm comfortable focusing my attention on when to get into one-shot range with the katana. With all of this in mind, I take a break and go fight 𝐸𝐸𝐻𝐸. Luckily for me, this is a great place to relax. Well, normally it wouldn't be, but I'm just glad enemies are only trying to kill me and not each other. So running through 𝐸𝐸𝐻𝐸 dungeon proceeds as normal. Well, better than normal actually, because it normally sucks. I thank Gilligan for his noble sacrifice and for the bone shard, and with that, it's time for 𝐸𝐸𝐻𝐸. Grab the Storm Ruler, and then use the Dark Sign. That way you can enter his boss room with the Storm Ruler fully charged. After that's done, just give him a walloping, get into one-shot range, and... oh. Right. And here lies the problem. While you are removing your innards, 𝐸𝐸𝐻𝐸 will take the opportunity to remove your outards. Something 𝐸𝐸𝐻𝐸 is really good at. Most of his attacks one-shot, however, a few don't. The best and safest way to win is to let 𝐆𝐀 hit you with a safe attack right before you are ready to kill him. And if you timed everything correctly, victory. Well, no use delaying Pontiff any further. Now's a good time as any, I suppose. 𝐆𝐀 gave us more than just a break, though. Now we have the Storm Ruler and +3 flasks to boot. The reason the Storm Ruler is so good is because it will do quite a bit more damage to Pontiff on a riposte compared to our reinforced club. But let's talk more about Pontiff. Our biggest problem stems from our low damage during second phase. Normally, you want that clone dead as soon as possible. It limits the amount of times you can punish Pontiff and diverts your attention to another location. And the last thing I need during this fight is another thing I need to pay attention to. The solution to this problem is to get the fight done with as soon as possible. Meaning we have to learn how to consistently parry the second phase. However, this has another underlying issue to it. To parry consistently, you need the Caestus in your offhand. Not normally an issue, it only weighs 0.5 equip load, so why would it ever be an issue? Well, on PC, to use the Bloodlust weapon art, it either needs to be the only thing in your inventory, or you two-hand it. While two-handing it doesn't take long, it's still valuable time wasted that could mess up our run. So at some point during the fight, the Caestus needs to be unequipped for optimal Bloodlust weapon art usage. With that in mind, all that needs to be done is to focus on the fight until the end, where most of your efforts should be ensuring souls don't get gained, but not to the degree where you throw the fight. And it should look something like this. Well, it only took a couple of hours, but it paid off. Okay. What boss is next again? Anal Londor, home of archers of surprisingly good aim. But so long as it's only aimed at me, I'm not concerned. And without anything removing themselves from existence, I make it to the top. After that, I make a small detour to grab an Estus shard. Overall, this area doesn't give you much trouble. And then there's this stupid crayon eater. Aldrich, devourer of years worth of thine mother jokes, is just one of those bosses that is a nightmare to fight on low damage runs. That isn't even mentioning Aldrich's questionable hitboxes. I still think that shouldn't have hit, but perhaps that's just me coping. Regardless of my below average skill level on Aldrich, the biggest problem is the cutscene that will play afterwards, teleporting us to Dancer. Because of this, we will have to be even faster about ending ourselves than if there was none. And it doesn't help that if you stand still for 2 seconds in the Aldrich fight, you get a cool new Swiss cheese cosplay. And doing this on Aldrich is, quite frankly, not that easy. So then, the question remains, why did I choose Aldrich instead of 𝐆𝐀 to be the last Lord of Cinder? Oh no, the Aldrich is broken. What a horrible turn of events that couldn't have possibly been foreseen. Doing this conveniently lets us get into one-shot range safely, and has the added bonus of us not having to deal with Aldrich. And because we died, we also spawned back at Anne Orlando, allowing us to pick up the Sun Princess ring that we will use for all of 2 fights before realizing its uselessness. Well, I suppose we should fight the dancer now.
Prince Lothric is in your hands. Please save his soul. Tell him what he must be, a law.
I had a feeling that would happen. If she doesn't die, we don't get the Basin of Vows, and without that, we can't proceed forward. The only dancer skip involves Teardrop, and we can't do that either. So, is that it? I'm sure you get the pattern by now. I don't give up. You can't die, lady. Not if I die first. Now for the moment of truth. Perhaps it was a simple solution, but quite unbreakable. I mean, what problem can't stabbing yourself fix? And now, we get to fight and die against a dancer for the next couple of hours. Now, one might infer from that sentence that I did not enjoy this, but a dancer is a really fun fight for me. And after a lot of Night Rain, I'm glad to be back dodging her blades and panicking at the last moment and throwing. Good times. Even if I'm doing minuscule damage, at least I'm having a fun time knowing that when I do get hit, it's because I messed up. Yes, Aldrich, I'm still coping from your hitboxes, cry about it. The biggest problem is that every time I die, I have to reset from the high walls of Lothric Bonfire, so the run back does start to annoy me after some time. Doesn't help that it starts me off a bit damaged, but oh well. I would recommend doing a low damage kill of Dancer at least once. It's quite an experience. In any case, I get more than my fill of the fight and decide to end it. Okay, game. How many times are you planning on this happening, huh? Answer me, you coward! Before the fight ends, you typically need to use the weapon art twice to avoid the soul gain. But for some reason, the souls are appearing in my inventory even faster now. The real question is, why? Honestly, no clue. Never noticed it until now, but different bosses have different timings for them to give you their souls. I'm assuming it's based on their death animation, but I have no way of knowing for sure. My only concern is if there's a boss that requires a death quicker than what we can provide, but I don't think any of the bosses fit that description. What we do know is that we will have to be one-shot to have a chance at winning against the dancer. And while I am a tad annoyed that I have to redo the fight again, it doesn't take much longer to get my next successful attempt. And it's time for the moment of truth. With that out of the way, we finally have access to Lothric Castle, where we can get ganked by the armada of hollows. Good hustle, guys. Great killing technique. But wrong place. Could you please save that for before boss fog walls? Thanks. Dragons. Surely you can behave and not kill someone for 10 seconds, right? Yeah, I suppose that's too much to ask of you. If you go the other way, though, they will somehow avoid killing someone. At least the rest of the area is brief, but don't stick around. Make sure to get the elevator shortcut. Yeah, shortcut. Definitely a shortcut. Who the hell designed this thing? You already know the gist. We do low damage, boss does high damage. So we just have to play well and not get hit. Does anyone have some ibuprofen? I have a headache. The Dragon Slayer is ultimately not that hard of a boss to fight. The biggest issue is the divided attention between the armor and the pilgrim butterflies. During the second phase, just make sure to pay attention to the audio cues that lets you know when they are attacking. That way you can have most of your attention focused on the armor. Play patient and make sure not to get smacked by the shield that is twice as dangerous as the axe. Luckily, we don't have to worry about getting into one-shot range during this fight because Miyazaki has kindly provided us a place to do some cordless bungee jumping. Classic. With that, only 2 bosses remain. Buckle up though, because this game won't go down without a fight. Just the way I like it. Progressing through the actual castle goes unnaturally smooth, but we don't question those. The twin princes are an interesting fight. The first... You know what, you don't need me to rehash the obvious stuff, you get the point. Boss hurt, me do little damage. There's only one solution to this narrative gap. Play the music! So, good news, I killed him. Bad news, he's still alive. I played the game a little too well and close to one shot, but apparently the Twin Prince's death monologue is so damn long, you just kind of have to wait it out and time it well. Well, screw doing all of that again. New plan, cheese. This is a classic cheese, you know it. Your opinions on it might be mixed, but it's the Prince's second phase AI freeze. What you might not know about it, however, is that a bow isn't required to pull off this glitch. If you position your character right and only hit Lothric, it's possible with melee as well. It's just very precise and very tedious. So precise that I fail most every time I try it. Ultimately, I just end up killing him normally again and hoping that this time I get the timing right. Surely I won't be stuck here for another hour, right? Oh, we got it. Sweet. And then one remains.
The Lords of Cinder, made strong by the souls that powered them, and the Ashen One, deprived of all souls by his own hands. For in a world where souls grant strength, is there nothing more terrifying than a man who kills gods, powered only by his own soul, his own determination? A man who has known death 1,000 times and overcame whatever got in his way. To those who overcome the odds, a title is bestowed. John Dark Souls. How fitting that the last foe he faces is the Soul of Cinder. A battle between a conglomeration of souls, and the one man who kept his own soul to the end. But we shall see which one is stronger.
Now, the Soul of Cinder is perhaps the worst foe you can face in a low damage run, and that's for a couple of reasons. The first is that he can heal himself, which is really annoying if you combine that with his already high resistances. We are positively tickling him. And do you know how I know we are doing too little damage? Because after getting him to half health, my weapon was at danger of breaking. Keep in mind, we can't pay Andre to repair them should they actually get to the breaking point, and at about 8 minutes of aggressive gameplay, he finally phase transitions. It's worth noting that if you played more passive, it would take much longer, but it would also be at least 2 minutes shorter if you somehow managed to not get the curved sword moveset or the healing from the spear phase. But because of how long the fight will get drawn out, the chances are you will encounter those. Hours upon hours of attempts, and it eventually starts getting to me. You know, there are a few ways I can increase my damage. First, I get Flynn's and Chloranthy Ring. Just make sure to be quick since Sigurd and the demon are still duking it out. I was happy with that, so I went back to the fight against the Soul of Cinder, and dying, until I realized that I was also forgetting another good ring that's easy to grab, the Knight's Ring. You can grab this from Lothric Castle, which gives you 5 extra strength, which is honestly really good at our low level. With that out of the way, we can actually focus on trying to kill the Soul of Cinder. However, I'm still not doing quite as good as I need to do to win. If only there was a narrative device that could build up hype and make me play better. Oh yeah, I did pay for the rights to use Can't Go to Hell, so might as well use the rest of it.
It's no mystery, what can I say? We're blind by design. And history keeps getting paid to change its mind. We're men. Divided by deception, but together we must rise. Deafened by the naive while we silence the wise. So sit back, relax, begin. It's too early for surrender, too late for a prayer. We can't go to hell if we're already there. They say the end is coming and I need to prepare. We can't go to hell if we're already there. Turn that fear into a
In the end, thanks to my skill, cleverness, and the copious amount of backup saves I made, we finally claimed victory, accomplishing what was previously thought impossible. The world's first ever no-soul run of any Dark Souls game. And perhaps this is the hardest run I will ever do. Or perhaps this is just the beginning. While this run was certainly impressive, or at least I think so, it shall be outdone in its due time. And I wouldn't be a good Souls player if I didn't give some advice to whoever next attempts it. The first is, this run is actually completely possible without glitches. If you abuse quitouts, you can actually reach the Mimic below the dragon. And using some Undead Hunter charms, you can also pick up in Lothric, you can obtain the Mimic Head. And I'm sure you know just what you can do with that. Although it will take some grinding. And I'm sure there's probably more alternative methods that I didn't think about, but that's the beauty of Dark Souls. There's always multiple ways to do something. It just takes one person to figure out that the thing is possible in the first place. As it's been said by an extremely cool yellow fruit I admire, it always seems impossible until it is done. And with the hell I've just unleashed upon the challenge run community, I'd love to see more people attempt no-soul runs of their own. Seriously, just at me in your description, and I'll check it out. Also, I have a bunch of cool run ideas that involve viewer participation that I want to try, so if you want to help me make those videos come to fruition, join my Discord. I'll leave a link in the description. Or even if you don't want to help me with those videos, I'd appreciate it if you join regardless. Lastly, don't be afraid to watch some of my other videos. I promise I put a great deal of effort into them as well. It also helps the algorithm know you enjoyed what I made and lets others enjoy my videos. But with that out of the way, until I see you next time, stay safe, and don't you dare go hollow.